I went away. Thank you. Hi. Welcome. Hi, I see how it is, Steven. You're running away. I'm messing with you. I love putting people on the spot. So that's awesome. Thank you all for coming. Sorry we don't have beer, but we have pizza, and I think Amante just gave us some free desserts or something, and that's awesome. Thank you, Amante. So today's meetup is really exciting, and we're going to have 3 speakers talk about technology used in different spaces. And I'll talk about those speakers later, but first, some housekeeping. Firstly, thank you for coming. It's so warm and nice out, and you're still here listening to us. Yeah, so thank you. We have a bunch of organizers. It's me, Ryan there. There's Eric there, there's Dean, there's Laura, there's Matt, and I think that's all of us that are there today. So I'm gonna go with that. And we thank Galvanize for the space. And as you might have noticed, we have pizza today instead of beer. So if you like us and would like us to provide pizza for now or snacks, donate some money for us. Thank you. And have all the pizza you want as long as it's still there. I apologize if we run out. We need speakers, so if you would like to give a talk, if you have something interesting about data science, machine learning, AI, whether it's some kind of a technology in that space you're excited about, whether it's a project you did, anything like that, come sign up for being a speaker. If you have questions, come find us, email us, Slack us, we'll be happy to answer you. Any announcements? We have a few announcements, but we'll let you guys talk about it first. So any announcements? Anyone? Any hackathons, conferences, collaborations, anything like that? All right. So our first announcement is Boulder Startup Week is a couple of months away in May. So it's from May 11th through the 16th. And we are going to be, again, a part of the data science or machine learning now track. So on May 13th, our May meetup will be not the first Wednesday of the month, but on May 13th, and it'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. here. So we hope you guys make it. Just in general, Boulder Startup Week is great, a great event to go meet new people, listen to new technology talks at. And then who's got jobs? Anyone who has jobs to advertise where they need people for that? All right.
I'm at a company called Automox right now. They do like hash management, endpoint security, things like that. Their office is right down the street, and they just have fees raised like 30 million, and so they are kind of sketching on hiring with several quarters. So there's job recs on the website. If you have questions.
What's your name?
Ryan.
So Ryan from Galvanize, and for those of you who have talked to me, little Ryan, other Ryan, will come find you and take your info so we can put it on our Slack channel. The guy in the red shirt was also.
Hi everyone, I'm Nikhil. So I'm working in a fintech startup called mingling, and we are looking for anyone who likes products and new product development and interested in finance, doing research, and just taking the product to the next level.
So Ryan from Automox and Aniket from Magnify have jobs. Who's looking for jobs? All right, 2 of you.
I'm Christoph, graduated in May, so I'm a complete junior, but I would love to get into the data science scene, I guess. So anything that's data analytics, anything machine learning, that'd be really cool. Have any companies apply to? If you guys know anybody that's looking for places, please don't hesitate to just say hi to me. I'm pretty open. It'd be nice to get to know anyone.
What's your background?
Concept.
Cool.
Yeah, sorry.
You're fine.
Hey, I'm Tim. I moved to Boulder about 6 months ago. Been working on consulting gigs. I'm an MBA background in web analytics, so everything consumer related, stuff like that.
Well, Christoph and Tim, I hope you talk to Aniket and Ryan and see if they have any positions for you guys. He's sitting right next to you, so you know that's easy. All right. In general, keep an eye out for it in our jobs channel on Slack. Our Ryan will probably post jobs there as we see them come available or someone contacts us. So keep an eye out for that. Oh yeah, cool new meetup announcement. So if those of you who have been here for a while, we sent out the survey last fall and you guys filled out the survey and we heard you and we're trying to have more networking social events, especially with other like-minded people in the area. So the Women in Data Science and Machine Learning in Boulder and us are doing a combined happy hour for our next meetup, which is going to be on April 1st, so the first Wednesday of the month. Instead of 6 p.m., it's going to be 5 to 7, and it's going to be at Rosetta Hall, which is 1 block that way and 1 block that way, or something like that. It's on Pearl or Walnut, here, close to by somewhere, where Absinthe House was. So anyway, so hope you can join us. Keep an eye out for our meetup announcement. We'll probably have a cap on the number of people coming, just because we don't want to overwhelm Rosetta Hall. Unfortunately, we won't be able to sponsor anything there, but it'll be a cool group of women who are basically doing the same things you guys are, you can talk to. And they're really fun. I go to their meetups, so. Finally, our speakers. I'm sure you're tired of listening to me talk. So first we have Rick talking about time series data, how to analyze and visualize time series data. Then we have Rob, who's going to talk about rebalancing portfolios in finance. And I don't know much about finance, if I'm wrong, let me know. And then we have David talking about using data for classroom assessments in math. So Rick?
Thank you, I appreciate the chance to come here and talk. Real quick, while he's getting this ready, how many of you use GIS? A few. How many of you use time series data? All right, good. Well, we'll be talking about analyzing and viewing time series data. Start my 10 minutes. Okay, well, let's get right into it. So when we talk about time series, this is the classic way you usually look at time series, different temporal scales. So if I'm looking at stream flow, I'm zoomed in to look at things on a daily basis. If I'm going to be looking at things on a seasonal basis, I'll zoom out and show more data. And if I'm looking for long term, I might show a lot more data. But that one red box is that tiny little pixel down there. The thing that's interesting about this is that my clicker doesn't work. There it goes. Okay. Well, this is the more data you have, the less detail you have. So too much of a good thing is the case here. So what can we do about that? Well, how else do we look at time series data? We might plot it all in one big plot. And this is okay to maybe see extremes, but not much else beside that. You might do something called spaghetti plot, where you overlay several years on top of each other. And it shows you the variability, but beyond that, it's kind of tough. Or my least favorite is when they show multiple Y scales with multiple color lines, some solid, some dotted, and it's like after about 4 or 5 lines, forget it. You're not going to see anything there. What can we do? Well, we can look at other disciplines. GIS will let you cycle through some of this layer data, very sophisticated interface going back and forth. Or sometimes you'll see line graphs, which we were just talking about. William Playfair in 1786 came up with the idea of a time line graph. So anytime you see a line graph, you're using 1786 technology. I think we can do better than that. So I'm going to give an example here first of the Colorado River at Lee's Ferry. Really important for water resources. I'm a hydrologist that just retired from the Weather Service. And Lee's Ferry divides the upper from the lower basin. We see Glen Canyon Dam there, and that lake behind the dam is Lake Powell. Just downstream of this, there from the map you can see, is the Lee's Ferry's gauge. And we have this, and we can see before Glen Canyon Dam came online, we can kind of see the annual peaks that would happen with the river without the dam in place. Glen Canyon Dam is established, and then we have the record after that. Now there is certainly a lot of data in this blue area where there's very little information. Can't tease out much for that. So what can we do? Let's go back to looking at things with that spaghetti plot. I will buy anyone dinner who can show me the 1987 line in that mess of lines there. It's tough. Well, the thing is that the assumption is all of those lines are in a single plane. If that assumption doesn't work for you, change the assumption. I'm telling you, those are not lines in a single plane. I agree they look like that, but what's really going on? We'll change the assumption that these aren't lines. These are stacked profiles. And by doing that, we have revealed this other axis here for year. Now I have an XY coordinate system, day and year, that I can use to start to plot the data, not unlike a map. So what we're seeing here for the spaghetti plot is simply the ground view of that mountain of data. But now that we understand we can view the data from a different perspective, we can now see the same data from an aerial point of view. And that opens up some real possibilities. So I've got the year and the day. And so here's my temporal framework. The x-axis is the day, the y-axis is the year. Those years are stacked on top of each other, just like a birthday cake. But for each day, we'll color code it according to what the value is. So every day is represented equally clear for every other day. Well, let's show you. Here's Lee's Ferry. Same data set, same data set, same data set. Let me go through some of the patterns that you see on the one over here on the right. Here's where Glen Canyon Dam came online. So this is the flow before the dam. We see these blue areas. Blue is for high flow. That's the snowmelt coming off the Rocky Mountains. We can see where there's not blue. Well, that would be a drought because there wasn't snow on the mountains. We can see individual storms here on this. We can see how they change. Once we get into the dam, there's a lot of different patterns there. First of all, there's that one in 1983, 84. That was an El Nino. There's so much snow that Glen Canyon Dam topped out. Lake Powell was completely full. We were putting plywood on top of the dam to get a little bit more water behind the dam. And you can see the river ran high for the entire year, maybe for 2 years. Another interesting pattern, can you guys see that zigzag and kind of a stair-step pattern in there? I'm looking for heads to nod and yes. Those are Sundays. Why do they have Sundays? Because they produce electricity up in dam. And on Sundays, the offices in Los Angeles are closed, less demand for electricity, less water through the turbines, less water in the river. So you can see that pattern all through here. You can also see how quickly the color changes on the first day of the month as they manage the river. So it's a very abrupt kind of a change, where in the natural system, it starts off low, kind of comes high, and goes back low. Here, you get this abrupt change. These little blue areas up here are artificial floods. Well, river normally flood May, June. You see a lot of these artificial floods are in November. They're abrupt as well. They're not there, then they're there, then they're gone. Whereas you can see a real kind of flood, that pattern, that enhanced flow, can last for weeks to months after the event. It's completely removed. And you can only see it with this kind of a graph here. Because I'll come over here and keep talking. Don't dock me for time. So I was curious, what would the river look like if the dam weren't there? Well, it turns out the people that operate the dam, the Bureau of Reclamation, also have another data set of water flowing into Lake Powell. So if it was flowing into Lake Powell and there was no dam, that water would simply go on past the river gauge. So I added that to this, and here's what I came up with. This is reservoir inflow as well as the stream flow before. You can see this is where the floodgates closed on Lake Canyon. Now we can see that pattern for coming off for snow on there. And at a glance, you can see just how altered the flow regime is on the Colorado River. Well, that was a flow of water. What about a flow of fish? Water flows downstream, fish flow upstream if you're salmon. Saw this story in 2014, just shattered this record. All sorts of questions came to me. If I was a good journalist, I'd be looking for these kind of questions here. I thought, you know what? Show me the data. Show me the data. Show me this thing, how it's supposed to work. Okay, so here's what we have. There are several dams on here. What they all have are these structures called fish ladders. The fish will actually swim up to these, and they have sensors and cameras that will record the number and the type of fish as they come up the fish ladder. And the Fish Passage Center has 5 years of daily data from March until June. I said, 5 years? That's not good enough. I want to look at 76 years. And so, here we go. Now we're looking at 76 years today with that same technique. The blue are higher numbers, and right off the bat, you can see they come in waves. There's a spring run in April. There's a summer run in June. There's a fall run in September. You may not know a darn thing about salmon, but you can tell at a glance most of the fish are going up in September, and that the pattern has changed over time. It was maybe a couple weeks, now it's a couple months. What those people had before, it's in that dash where the lines, and then the average is the larger box. It literally is a keyhole. We're missing all these other patterns here. That's not good enough. I want to look at all the dams at the same time. So we have here Bonneville, the Dalles, John Day, and McNary, and I lined them all up. I'm using the same color scale. Now I see some patterns that are persistent from all of the different reservoirs. So there's a flow, a wave of fish swimming upstream. We also can see how a pattern that we see at Bonneville starts to fade and become less apparent because fish are caught, fish go up side streams, so there's a reduction of the number of fish, an attenuation of the signal on that. Well, how else can we analyze the data? Here I got some data from a researcher from NOAA, Dr. Stephanie Moore. She's looking for red tides. There are these tiny organisms called dinoflagellates, specifically Alexandrium, that you don't eat shellfish if you've had a red tide bloom, because if you eat the shellfish, you'll get poisoned. So it's important to know when these things pop up. And she came up with these 8 different environmental factors that this is going to happen. Plus she had criteria, different thresholds, that when one of these conditions had a particular threshold, it enhanced the chance of having one of these. Doesn't mean you're going to have a red tide bloom, but you could. So I looked at this, I went, this is the data set I've been looking for. Because I line them all up just like a GIS for each of the environmental factors here. I find out what the threshold is for each of these different areas, then I just do a binary filter, 1 for that day if it meets the criteria, 0 if it doesn't, and then I just go through and I add up every day and I come up with a summary layer right here. Tens of thousands of data points distilled down into one easy to read graph. I showed this to Dr. Moore, boom, she really picked up on that May anomaly there. Think about this, if you're in public health for Washington State, maybe you start sampling the waters for this particular organism maybe in June, July, because this is usually a late summer, early fall kind of event. Conditions can happen as early as May. You have little risk for getting this wrong, so you might have to change your procedures for when you do water quality. And with that, these are, because I'm an environmental data scientist, I've done it for all these different kinds of things. Just sitting around thinking, here's all these new applications you can use this for. So I think you can do quite a bit. And with that, thank you.
We have time for a couple of questions. All right. Questions, and hopefully it will stick around afterwards.
Oh, yeah,
Other
absolutely.
people have questions.
Former meteorologist, I like the mountain chart, the 3D mountain. That would be really good for snowfall.
No, I do snowfall. Okay. Yeah, I don't like the mountain because you hide the data. You can't see things behind it. Only from above, like a orthorectified image, can you see each of the data equally well. But I do snowfall as well with this kind of graph. You can see the patterns very easily for that. I've done it for temperature. You can see climate change within the data sets. Yes. In the back. Yes, ma'am.
I'm interested in wondering what tools you like to do this type of visualization using R and
You can use R. I don't like R. You can do Excel. It's kind of wimpy. You can do others. What I like, you could even do it in ArcGIS, although it was never made to do that. There's a program from a company over in Golden Software, called Surfer, and they've been very supportive, and it is the most versatile program, and the results are very, very professional looking, so that's what I use. Okay, I'll be around, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks, Rick, for that awesome talk. I don't like R either, but I have to work it out, unfortunately. But now it's Robert.
Thank you. All right, I'm Robert Pyle, and I'm going to talk about a new way to rebalance portfolios. First, I'm going to talk about what is rebalancing. Suppose you initially have 35% US stocks, 15% international stocks, 25% US bonds, 25% international bonds. Suppose it changes. Either way, you want to rebalance the portfolios and get back to the initial allocation. I wanted to solve the problem of the lack of great rebalancing programs out there, and these programs use the standard asset classes such as US large cap, US small cap, US large cap value, US small cap value. Here are the issues. The clients say, I need money. The clients say, I have money to invest, or the portfolio is out of balance. In each case, you have to rebalance the portfolio. So I created software using Microsoft Access, and with the software, you can make a trade and see the effect on the portfolio. A lot of the programs out there can do it faster, but they make a lot of trades and they generate a lot of tax consequences. And with this program, you can make the trades and make the changes and see the effect and do it in less trades. I'm able to define global funds, saying one fund is X% US, Y% international. The program can see that. The other rebalancing programs can't do it. It's flexible, works with Morningstar Office and Advise-On, two portfolio management systems. The program can rebalance on the standard asset classes or use the Fama-French three-factor model. Now, I know you all remember that from finance, the three-factor model. We're going to focus on SMB, small minus big, which is the historical excess return of small caps over large caps, and high minus low, historical returns of value stocks over growth stocks. Each fund has their own S and H when you run it through the regression model, and you can rebalance using those specific numbers. Historically, small caps outperform large caps by about 2% per year. Value stocks outperform growth stocks by about 3% per year. And high profitability stocks outperform low profitability stocks by about 4% per year. That's the new factor in the Fama-French five-factor model. So here are some funds that we use, and the crosshairs are the Russell 3000 market index. As we go to the upper right, as you're looking to the diagram, you get to funds that have smaller cap and more value funds. And each fund has their own S and H. Now here's the program I developed. The client has a target of 0.28 and 0.19 there, and the current is 0.30 and 0.17. You hit summary changes, and then it says you need to add 107,560 to US stocks. And then the program says the required is 0.14, 0.34 for the size and value of the fund you want to add. So it's solving this simple 2x2 equation, solving for S and H, and it says 0.14 and 0.34 for S and H of the fund you want to buy. So we're going to buy $50,000 of the DFA tax managed US market-wide value that has an S of 0.11 approximately and 0.33. And then the program recalculates, it says, now the next fund you need to buy has a S and H of 0.17 and 0.34. So then you can buy that fund and get exact. They wanted me to talk about 2007, 8, and 9. I'd like to forget about it. The clients and I were crying. The market was volatile. Clients' allocations were changing. and tax losses were a nightmare. Imagine back then the volatility was 10% each way. So if you tried to sell a fund that was worth $100,000 the day before, you could get anywhere between 90,000 and 110,000, and then you had to guesstimate how much you're going to buy. And if you messed up, you had to cover the trade. That was rough. Now, well, there wasn't much market volatility before I did the slides. I might have put the crying smiley face on there. Client allocations, the clients have been trained pretty well. They're getting positive and starting to buy. And now we can take tax losses. We can sell all of one fund and buy another fund. So that's really nice. And we can do exchanges. We made a lot of enhancements over time, and we're going to add the 5-factor model profitability factor. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, thank you. How do you determine the optimal frequency in which you recalibrate that equation?
Recalibrate the size and value. Well, we run the regression, and then we change the S and H for the funds about every year. And then we rebalance. We have tolerance bands of 20% on the asset classes. And that was based on a paper by the guy who did iRebalance, and he found out that the optimal tolerance was 20% on the asset classes. So if you're at 50%, say US, it would be up to 60 and 40. So that's the optimal.
Thank you, Robert. David.
All right, thank you. So yeah, I was kind of wondering why I decided to do this. So I thought I'd tell you. So we founded a company and explain a little bit about what we've done. We had a lot of data. We don't have any data scientists. You guys pitched for jobs a little bit earlier, so I'll just put it out there. We don't have a job necessarily, but we really want to hear about anybody who might be interested in our project as a freelancer or something like this. And we are up and running. It's the real deal. So Forefront is this company I founded, and to simplify it, I just decided it's really an evolution of the grade book. So I think about the day that Rick had, you know, with these dams, right? We don't have data like that in education. We simply don't, right? Because we have no, you know, it was all paper and pencil for so many years. And then we had spreadsheets that were all locked into people's hard drives. And so really this is an evolution of the gradebook that we've created. So the platform itself is a content agnostic thing, like a gradebook. Could be social studies, could be auto mechanics, really doesn't matter. Multi-dimensional in that we really are very interested in observational data, interview data, rubric-based data. Interested in the idea of learning trajectories. Just throw out some terms for you. Diagnostics and screeners, and I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit more here at the end. Progress monitoring is a huge thing, capital P, capital M, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. And then flexible standards, learning target alignment. So we all know that we have standards in education now. You probably heard about the Common Core, et cetera, right? We want kids in second grade to be able to add and subtract fluently under 100. How do we measure that? How do we know the instruction is working, et cetera? So, yeah, being able to tag with different kinds of, so we've got a very rich kind of thing. Multiple aggregations. So what you can see over here on this is we've got the class next to the school. These are 3 items on a single assessment, right? They might have 20 different items on it, okay? And so I have my class results, 22 kids got it right, 3 got it wrong. The school, right? And then the whole district is here. And then you can see the whole of everyone using our product across the United States and internationally a little bit. So we've got some 6,000, 7,000 results in that one single task that we've been able to collect in the platform. We've also got the disaggregation of that so that we could think about this kind of thing disaggregated by different kinds of demographics. I want to show off this tool real quick because as we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we take, I hope we didn't log out, let's find out. Oh wait, don't go to that yet. All right. So trying to figure out how do we make longitudinal, holistic portraits of learning. Now that we have all of this data, we literally have hundreds of data points on every single child that we're visiting the system, right? Over multiple years now. So how do we collect that? So think about this. We're collecting the item by item data on every assessment for Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5, all the way through Unit 7 or 8, depending on how many units are in the year for a single student, right? So we're talking about hundreds of questions there. And then all the quiz data. So there's a lot of information here. So here's what we came up with. So this is a single student. What we have here are, so the common core, I'll just give you a quick lesson in that. I hope I'm not running out. So this is geometry, operations and algebraic thinking, number and base 10. So this is a 4th grade class, number and fractions. Okay, so these are the different aspects of mathematics for this child. I can go back to 3rd grade, we go back to 2nd grade, go back to 1st grade, go back to kindergarten. So you can imagine, as we start to build these portraits, we can start to do some root cause analysis when the students are struggling, right? And really look at what are the critical moments of learning for the child. And then we're sort of like, well, what the heck is this little red dot here, right? So then you can see that we've got this is recognizing the multi-digit whole numbers. A place value in one place represents 10 times what it represents in the place to its right. And vice versa when you're dividing. We've only assessed this twice. Post-assessment for Unit 2 and Unit 1 and Unit 2 checkup. You only got those 2 assessments, so don't lean don't lean on it too hard. It was only one item on that one assessment there. So we don't really know a whole lot about that. Right next to it's a green one, even less data. But once we get up to these aggregations of things, then you can see we've got quite a bit. So if you've got kids in schools and you're wondering what the grades that you're getting on your standards-based report card are valid and reliable, the answer is no. Can I go back to the slideshow now? Because what am I at? 1 minute. Okay. So, aha, right? I was asked to put an aha in. Aha, one of the things that's an aha is that teachers are willing to put data into a database where it gives them meaningful information. They will do it. They like to do it. It's really interesting. We also found we had 3 interview tasks. So this is 3 questions done teacher to student, right? That if they can't do this at the beginning of 2nd grade, start counting from 27, count to 32. Start counting from 96, count to 120. And then I'm going to cover 9 objects, I'm going to cover 6 objects, and then I got how many altogether. If you can't do those 3, your chances, without interventions, of passing the state assessment at the end of 5th grade is less than 20%.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, yeah. Some questions.
Questions, anyone?
Yeah.
You mentioned quickly with regards to like data integrity. So how does the data come in again? Are these all state assessments?
No, these are all teacher scored assessments. So these are classroom assessments where the teacher is going through and doing the analysis themselves of the task and then putting the data in. So in this case, it's an interview assessment. I've got a 1, 2, 3 scale on the assessment that was written, right? 1, they can't count from 27 to 32. 2 means they were able to do it, but it was really slow. They had some self-corrections. They might have been uncertain about it. And then the 3 is they did it. So we've got, teachers of the initial interface on this. This is not computer-based assessment.
And previous data you talked about earlier is also collected that way.
All of the data that we collect is teacher-scored assessments and interviews with students. We don't do any computerized assessment at all. Yeah.
Is any of this tied to school funding or anything like that?
Well, they pay us. So I mean, software. Oh, no, we're not doing any of that, no. So the state assessments will be used for that, right? But generally, class assessments would be completely overlooked because this kind of system didn't exist before. So there is some funding for schools, which is actually contingent upon your level relative to the state assessment sometimes. Mostly supports going to schools that are not struggling. Well, the idea is that we would be able to do analytics like this, right? To be able to say, hey, in kindergarten, you have this kind of portrait, like I'm thinking about your data. I'd love to have something like this, a map on a kid, right? Which says, holy smokes, if you fall into that pattern, if we don't respond, we're not your chances of being successful in whatever area it is we're studying here, math in this case, are not good, right? And so, so we want, that's how we're gonna help humanity. Yeah, question? Right now, we only work with schools and school districts. Good question. Keep that in mind.
Thank you, David.
All right, thank you. Anyone's interested in talking a little bit about it?
Well, thank you to our awesome speakers. We appreciate it, and all the talks were really great. One thing I forgot to say before in the announcements that I'll say now is we actually have an official code of conduct now, and just wanted to say we encourage and are inclusive of everyone regardless of gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or any other group that you may identify as. And if you want to read the whole code of conduct, go to our meetup page and it's there. And don't know if we have any pizza left. I see some desserts. Please mingle, have pizza and dessert, have fun. Yeah. Ask the speakers difficult questions. They love it. Thank you for your clicker.